Hello, my name is Chris Sham, a financial advisor with BPS Financial Services. And I'd like to welcome you to this presentation on financial planning basics. I'm a financial planner and an implementation partner with my clients to help them achieve their current and future needs, wants, and wishes through financial advice. Today, we're going to go over a lot of ground because there's a lot to financial planning basics. This is meant to be an introduction, not to be a full-blown, in-depth financial planning session with you, because everyone who watches this is going to be a little bit different in what they need for their financial plan. We're going to talk about setting goals, budgeting, the need for an emergency fund, insurance, credit, investing, tax planning, college, savings, retirement savings, estate planning, and hopefully you'll find out a lot that will help you learn more about financial planning to be better in what you do around your personal finances and planning for your future. Setting goals. Everyone talks about goals that they want to do in life. They want to buy a house. They want to have a car. They want to eliminate their debt. They want to retire and go live on a beach or live in the woods, or they want to open their own business. What are your financial goals? I don't know what yours are. You've got to figure that out for yourself and then go about achieving them. And we'll talk about how we can go. There's some tools to help you do that. First thing, how smart are your goals? Are they specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely? For example, I want to buy a car. Is that a SMART goal? Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Probably relevant. No timeline on it. How about this for a goal? I want to buy a $30,000 Prius, and I want to have the down payment of $6,000 for that in 1 year. Specific? Yep. It's a car with a dollar amount. Measurable? Yep. There's how much money you have to save. Attainable? Hopefully within your budget, you've picked a car that's relevant for you. Obviously, it is relevant. You need a car. And timely. I've given myself a year to save $6,000 on that $30,000 car. You're not going to have one goal, though. You're going to have multiple goals. So write down and prioritize them. Is that more important than the house? Is the house more important than the car? Is college more important? Is saving for retirement more important? What are your priorities? Put them down, write them down, put them in order, and set them up. Goals for yourself. The dreaded B word in every conversation with a financial advisor. Budgeting. Why do I need one? My clients all usually find out that they have a greater freedom to be able to spend what they want when they know what their budget is. They have less anxiety over, can I afford this? Can I not afford this? One of the things I do in my own personal budget is I have $100 a month set aside for clothing. If I'm out and decide I want to buy some clothes that cost less than $100, I can do it without batting an eye. I don't buy a lot of clothes. That works for me. Now I'm going to do $250 or $300 or $500 purchase, maybe even more. I've got to reconsider my finances and figure out where that's going to come from. Am I going to go out to dinner less? Am I going to cut back somewhere else on my retirement savings? What am I going to do? How am I going to make that happen? Income comes from paychecks, rental income on properties you might have, government benefits, interest on any savings you have, investment income if you've got a taxable account. All that's income and all got to be added up. You can throw tips in there as well. And your side hustle. Expenses, they fall into two categories: fixed expenses, discretionary expenses. Fixed expenses are things like rent, mortgage, your car payment, if you have a car payment, your insurance, your cell phone bill, usually pretty fixed expense. Discretionary expenses. Well, that's more flexible things that change from month to month. your heating bill, your electric bill, your water bill, things that you have a little bit of control over based upon usage, your eating out bill, and your bill on groceries. Those are things that are discretionary. You can figure out how to change those. Home improvement projects, another thing that you can have as discretionary expense. Very flexible. And hopefully at the end of that, you've got a surplus. That'd be ideal. That's a good thing. You got more money coming in than you got money going out. It's a way to live. Sometimes though, you can have a deficit, and you got to be able to plan for ways to get out of that deficit by either increasing your income or managing your expenses. It's got to be done, but it can only be done if you have it actually on paper or in a spreadsheet or some other manner that you know where your money's going. An emergency fund. One of the things I hear frequently is, why should I have some money in the bank? It's not doing anything for me. Well, let's talk through that. What happens if your car breaks down and you've got to spend $1,500 on the repairs and you don't have the cash? You got to put on a credit card at 20%. Now that's no longer a $1,500 investment and you're fixing your car. It's going to cost you more money based upon how long it takes you to pay off that $1,500. But if you have an emergency fund of $10,000, $20,000, maybe put on the credit card, take money out of your emergency fund, pay off the credit card right away, no interest. And now you replenish your emergency fund over the next couple of months. There's no interest charge. You've now saved yourself money by having money in the bank. It is the foundation for any successful plan because it enables you to keep yourself on track. Experts recommend 3 to 6 months. I say at least 3, 6 months is optimal. But it all depends upon your circumstances and your spending habits. Where you keep your emergency fund is extremely important. Don't have it attached to your debit card. Have it in a bank that you don't have a debit card for, so that you have to go get it in order to utilize it. I try and help all my clients with this so that they don't just tap into it to have an extra dinner out. It's for actual emergencies. Otherwise, it just sits there. Risk management. What is risk? There's a lot of different risks out there. We're going to talk about a few of them. Okay. Health insurance. If you got a job, hopefully your company is providing you health insurance, but your health is a risk. The insurance company is taking the premiums and pay for items that happen. One of the biggest misconceptions about health insurance is that it pays for everything. Insurance isn't designed to pay for everything for you. What insurance is designed for is to pay for the unexpected and really expensive. Think a major surgery, a major illness. That's what insurance is designed for. It's not designed to pay for all of your regular monthly checkups or prescriptions. You've got to budget that and plan for that. But the health insurance covers the big thing and the unexpected thing. And that's what it's there for. Auto insurance, same thing. It pays for an unexpected and expensive accident. I always recommend to people, and I'm not in the health insurance game, but make your deductible as high as possible to save you money on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. And if you got your emergency fund and you got a $6,000 to $1,000, $1,500 issue that pops up, you can take care of it with your emergency fund. You don't need to bother with the auto insurance company over something small that you should be able to take care of yourself. Life insurance, again, unexpected and can be expensive because you're going to lose, your family's going to lose all your income. Have it in place so your loved ones are taken care of. There's no reason to have your loved ones have to go and put up a GoFundMe page to support their standard of living or the kids' college. Property insurance. If you own a home, you should have property insurance. If you rent, you should have property insurance. Covers your stuff in case you lose it. I've been the victim of a fire, lost all my stuff. Property insurance covered it. A few months later, I had replacements. No fun, but at least all my stuff got back. Liability insurance. If you own a home, you probably want to get an umbrella policy to cover you in case something happens. This can be built into your auto insurance as well for liability. Take it just in case something happens. You're covered. It doesn't come out of your money. Very important, again, for unexpected and expensive. That's what insurance is designed for. Disability insurance, the same thing. One of the biggest impediments to people achieving their financial goals and their planning is they become disabled and they can't get an income. Have the disability insurance. Make sure your income can continue on. And then long-term care insurance, it can be expensive, but if planned for, you can put money away that will help you as you grow older, offset some of your long-term care needs. I'm going to talk about credit. Capacity, character, and collateral are what credit companies look at. We offer an entire presentation on understanding credit. So we'll go into that more in that presentation. This is just the basics, right? And as Benjamin Franklin said, remember, credit is money. You've got to pay it back eventually. So don't take out more than you can chew. There's an application for credit. There's a credit report. You have a credit score. You can check your credit score at most banks now and also on most credit cards. So if you have a credit card or a bank account, have them show you what your credit score is. At least it gives you an idea of where you're at this moment in time. And as we talk about in our credit video, you can always change it because it's just a snapshot of where you're at in a period of time. Creditors use this to determine your worthiness of whether or not they're going to give you more credit. Buying a home, buying a car. Lots of ways in which people want to get more credit. Your credit score is a big component of that. Debt. Using credit in a manner that is not appropriate creates debt. Again, we talk about the emergency fund. You start putting money on your credit cards and pretty soon it gets out of control. Have that emergency fund, it will eliminate a lot of the needs for debt, but sometimes you do need debt, all right? There's two types, secured and unsecured. We're going to talk a little bit about those. But in terms of debt, you want to look at the total amount, the term of it, how long it is, and the rate. That's the interest. These are important considerations. So a secured debt is a mortgage. It's secured by the house, by the property. There's going to be a dollar amount, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, a term, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and a rate, 3%, 4%, 2%, 5%, whatever those are. You've got to figure out how that works for you. On the unsecured side, you're going to have credit cards. Those usually have a much higher interest rate, 15, 20, 25%. No term on that because it's just open-ended. They extend you the credit. If you use it, you've got to pay the interest. Secured usually has a lower rate. Unsecured is usually higher. Important things to think about when you talk about debt. Investing. Yeah, it can be a head scratcher. There's a lot of ways to invest, and everyone tells you that there's a best way to do it. The only best way is the one that works for you. And everyone has different needs, wants, wishes, and desires, and different tolerance levels for how they invest. So you've got to figure out and plan for what works for you to achieve the goals that you have for your future. First thing you got to consider is your risk tolerance. How risky am I? There's a risk reward. The higher the risk, the bigger the payoff, but more volatility. The lower the risk, lower payoff, not as volatile. You've got to know your personal risk tolerances, and you got to know the ability to deal with potential losses in the short term and potentially in the long term. There's three areas: growth, which is where you hear in the news that the stock market goes up or down. That's the growth in the value in the stocks. Income, payments of interest or dividends. So a dividend is when a company, you own a share of their stock and they just pay you out the profits on a quarterly basis and you get a check on a regular basis. Interest, that's if you buy a bond, money comes into you on a prescribed basis so that you have income coming in. And stability, protect the original investment. Not going to have a lot of growth, but you're not going to lose anything either. Having one of these reduces your ability to deal with the other portion of it, right? If you do stable, you're not going to be able to do as much growth. The one thing about stable is you got to realize that the inflation is going to happen. So your purchasing power might decrease over time. Tax considerations. Tax deferred growth is a big benefit to you. If you put money with pre-tax dollars, you can win out in the long run. Tax deferred growth and when no taxes are due until the funds are withdrawn from the account. Think of a 401k or other retirement account. You can get qualified distributions tax-free in certain cases. Again, 529 plans, prepaid tuition plans, and retirement plans. There are certain circumstances, though, where if you take the money out for non-qualified distributions, you do have to pay a penalty. So understand that. Just be aware. Try not to go through those. The big benefit with the pre-tax dollars are deductions are made from your paycheck before the taxes are calculated. That means your tax bill this year would be lower. Okay? Lower out-of-pocket costs today, again, to give you a future benefit. Lots of companies offer health and dependent care or they offer transportation costs with public transportation discounts to help you to use that. And then also your retirement plan contributions are pre-tax dollars that can help you grow. Here's a little chart that shows the value of tax deferred growth. The chart says $10,000 goes up, and in 30 years, you wind up with $35,000, assuming a 6% growth rate. If you did it with tax deferred dollars, it'd be $57,000. $41,000 after tax if you took all the taxes out right now. But you can see there's a benefit to having the tax deferred growth based upon longevity and time. College savings plans. There's a lot to this. It gets very tricky. You're going to have college savings plans and prepaid tuition. Prepaid tuition work great if you know that someone wants to go to school in a certain state. If there's question marks, the college savings plans are usually a bit better because they can be used anywhere. You want to talk to a professional, though, in the college savings realm because they're out there. They're there to help you figure out which is your best option. Again, you get tax deferred growth. And if you use the money for college or education, no income tax. All right. It's a good thing if you know that you want to have education in the future. Retirement. Start now or 20 years ago. Sooner you start, the longer your investments have a chance to grow. Catching up can be challenging and it can be very expensive. So we're going to go through a couple of examples here. Put aside $3,000 annually, right? That's $250 a month, not an exorbitant amount. Assuming a 6% growth rate, if you start off at age 45, you'll wind up with $120,000 by age 65. That's 20 years. If you start at age 35, you wind up with $254,000. Age 20, almost $680,000. Again, a hypothetical example, but it shows the power of time. The more time you have to manage your investments, the better off you're going to be in the long run for that growth that can happen. Retirement. It's talked about a lot. Everyone wants to do it. You want to quit your job and retire. But what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? What kind of retirement do you want to have? How long will retirement last? What's going to be your new self-identity? How are you going to be social? How are you going to deal with your personal relationships? How are you going to be healthy? What's your nutrition going to be like? And then you talk about the money that pays for all that stuff, right? You got to figure out what your retirement wants to be to figure out how much money you're actually going to need. But you got to start planning for it. It just doesn't happen overnight, right? When do you want to retire? The earlier you retire, the longer you're going to need your funds to last. So you got to plan for that. Social Security starts at 62, or you can wait till 70. You get more money the longer you wait per year. And if you're going to live longer, that's a good thing. If you're not going to live as long and you got health problems, you might want to take it earlier. Medicare begins at 65. There are a lot of professionals out there that can help you with your Medicare choices. Sometimes they're better than your work insurance, but you have to apply at age 65. And then what kind of retirement do you want? Financial independence, so you don't have to worry about it. Do you want to travel? Do you have hobbies you want to do? Do you want to help people? Do you want to give back? What do you want to live? Do you want to move out of state to a warmer climate? Do you want to help your grandchildren and children financially? What do you want to do? It's your choice, but you've got to plan well in advance to make sure that it happens. Again, 401ks, 403bs, tax deferral can help your money grow. Take advantage of these. They're great vehicles for you to increase your wealth. Contribute, if you can, after the 401k or 403b to an IRA, either traditional or Roth, to help you, again, grow your financial future. The only thing you got to worry about is a 10% penalty for early withdrawals. There are ways around that, but hopefully you've budgeted and planned yourself to the point where you don't need to do that. Fundamentals of estate planning. We've got a whole presentation on this as well. We talk about intestacy, where you don't have a will, it goes to the state, they make the choices for you. Please don't let that happen. Create a will of some sort. Again, wills are on this. Trusts, those are vehicles by which you can put things in to help make sure that your wishes are actually taken into consideration and they happen. And you've also got to plan for incapacity. If you're old and you can't take care of yourself, how's that going to happen? What's the long-term care plan? Lots goes into this. Again, we got another entire presentation on it. We'll talk a little bit about intestacy here. It gets distributed. Wife gets half, the kids each get a quarter if there's 2 kids. Every state has a different plan on how they're going to handle this. The big portion of this, though, is the actual wishes of the person who passed away are irrelevant because they didn't write anything down. Problems come up, fighting comes up. It gets messy and ugly inside the families. Don't let that happen. Write it down, get a will, plan for yourself. The will is the cornerstone of the estate plan. Written by you or an attorney and signed by a witness, or signed by you with a witness, goes to court, they're going to testify. Tells everyone how you want everything distributed, accomplishes the goals that you want, minimize taxes, who takes care of your minor children, executor on the will, and the estate, all gets named. Again, if you're not capable of taking care of yourself, you can plan for that. One of the biggest things that happens is there become fights over what happens when people are incapacitated. It comes down to the guardian at that point in time. Are they always going to do what you want or would have wished to have had happened? If you write it down, it will happen. It has to happen. So plan for it. Otherwise, the court's going to appoint a guardian for you, and who knows what's going to happen. It's not in your hands anymore. Yeah, it's a lot to consider. Should have a lot of questions. The biggest thing to do, though, remember, start to plan sooner rather than later. The sooner you plan and start planning, the better off you're going to be. If you got any final questions, feel free to send them to me. I'll be happy to reply. Hopefully you've learned a lot. Again, we've covered a lot of material from the basics of having an emergency fund all the way to estate planning. And there's a lot in there for you to unpack. If you got an evaluation of this training, please let me know. I'd love to hear the feedback. But again, hopefully you've learned the basics of financial planning and know what to look for when you go to talk to someone. If you got any questions about this, feel free once again to reach out to me. Thank you for helping me to educate you a little bit on the financial planning basics.